It's Thursday, April 16th. In the headlines, tiered fuel pricing coming as Energy Minister Darrell Vaz warns of rising costs amid global instability. In business news, Jamaica Broilers is set to sell a part of its U.S. operations. Regionally, Belize spotlights storm surge preparedness. And in sports, Jamaica names star-studded squad for World Athletics Relays. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Energy Minister Darrell Vaz has announced a new tiered pricing mechanism for petroleum products, aimed at aligning local fuel prices more closely with global market movements. Minister Vaz says the changes are necessary due to ongoing instability linked to the war in the Middle East. The minister addressed the matter at Wednesday's post-cabinet press brief. Danita Rodney has that story.
During the post-cabinet briefing at Jamaica House on Wednesday, Vaz said the current system, while shielding consumers, has cost PetroJam between $1.3 billion and $1.4 billion over 4 weeks.
Between March 12th and April 8th, the full increase in transport fuel prices averaged $49.20 per litre. So that would have been the increase based on the change in the oil prices. However, only $18 of that $49.20 per litre was passed on to consumers based on Government of Jamaica's pricing cap at PetroJam at $4.50 per litre per week, up or down. Growing fiscal pressure, particularly if elevated prices persist. If we continue the current pricing mechanism up to June 2026, it would cost the Government of Jamaica $11.8 billion Jamaican dollars, which is unaffordable and unsustainable, and in fact is 2/3 of this budget year's revenue measures.
Under the revised system, multiple pricing caps will replace the existing $4.50 limit, allowing for more flexible adjustments in response to global oil price volatility.
Government is going to have to look at policies to limit movements, especially transportation movements. I don't know, Minister Dixon, I don't know whether or not we go back to a COVID hybrid version of working from home, but something has to happen.
Minister Vaz cautioned that fuel prices are likely to continue rising and urged Jamaicans to conserve energy.
But it is 100% the responsibility of every Jamaican to realize that we are in a major crisis as it relates to the price of oil internationally, and therefore you need to take responsibility for your household and your business to see what you can do.
Despite the challenges, he said Jamaica's energy security remains stable, supported by supply contracts and the PetroJam's refining capacity, with the government continuing to monitor global developments.
Jamaica could move to drill for oil off the coast of St. Thomas within the next 2 years, following encouraging early findings from a recent geochemical survey. But Energy Minister Darrell Vaz is urging caution following the announcement.
Any move to drilling would only take place after full environmental and social impact assessment, stakeholders' engagement, and relevant permits and cabinet approval. This is a careful step-by-step process. The ministry, together with United Oil and Gas, continues to take a disciplined and evidence-based approach, ensuring that any decisions taken are grounded in sound science and in the best interests of the country.
He adds that several companies interested in oil exploration have begun reaching out to United Oil and Gas following the findings.
The results are very positive, but they are positive scientifically because they have seen traces. They haven't seen or touched the real deal.
Minister Vaz was speaking at this week's post-cabinet press brief. The Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation has begun removing illegal and non-compliant signs across the municipality as it moves into the enforcement phase of its signage regularization campaign. Speaking at the corporation's monthly council meeting this week, Mayor of Kingston, Andrew Swaby, said the exercise, which began last Thursday, involves the removal of illegally installed signage.
We will strengthen our oversight of LED and digital signage. While these formats can be effective for businesses, they must be appropriately located. Moving forward, such signage will only be approved in suitable areas, specifically where they do not pose a distraction to motorists or disrupt residential life.
The enforcement marks phase 2 of the campaign. The initial phase, which ran from January to March 31, encouraged businesses to regularize their signage and settle outstanding fees, with a 20% discount offered. Despite a public education drive and payment arrangements for business operators, the corporation says compliance is low.
To support the next phase, the KSAMC will host a workshop with outdoor advertising companies on Monday, May 4th, to address these issues related to unregulated signage and the designation of sterile areas.
Invoices totaling some $74 million were generated, with just over $27 million collected in arrears. Meanwhile, Mayor Swaby says the KSAMC is moving to designate no-sign zones. Nearly 6 months after Hurricane Melissa struck Jamaica's western end, 2,764 customers, mostly in Westmoreland, remain without electricity. Energy Minister Darryl Vaz says 2,561 customers in Westmoreland and 203 in St. Elizabeth are still off the grid, despite ongoing restoration efforts by Jamaica Public Service Company. He cites torrential rains, flooding, difficult terrain, and limited access to damaged communities as major setbacks. According to Minister Vaz, despite the challenges, restoration is 99.6% complete, with about 258 customers reconnected between April 1 and 13, and 26 communities restored across Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth.
This includes 11 communities in Westmoreland and 15 communities in St. Elizabeth.
Time now for the Business Report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you the developments shaping markets, capital access, and business decision-making across Jamaica and the region. Let's get into the stories that matter. Jamaica Broilers Group has entered into agreement to sell its American Best Dressed Chicken processing plant located in South Carolina in the United States. The plant was acquired from Gentry's Poultry Company in September 2019 and was rebranded to operate under the Best Dressed Chicken brand, serving the U.S. market. It is understood that the sale is predicated on shoring up Jamaica Broilers' accounts, which were hit with a multi-billion-dollar fraud discovered in its U.S. operations in 2025. Further, the 46 billion Jamaican dollars accounting irregularities were uncovered by Jamaica Broilers management. As part of the company's restructuring from the multi-billion-dollar fraud, NCB Financial Group 2 months ago provided a $15.1 billion financing package to stabilize operation. The deal includes $6.4 billion in loans and $8.7 billion in bonds, aimed at supporting restructuring, strengthening local operations, and correcting overseas accounting irregularities. Managing Director Fosrich and Vice President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, Cecil Foster, is urging the government to move swiftly to address a looming energy crisis stemming from the conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran. Speaking to RJR News, Mr. Foster warned that Jamaica's already high energy costs are among the highest globally, making the local manufacturing sector uncompetitive and contributing to significant trade deficits. He revealed that members of the JMEA's Energy Committee have been engaging investors and technical experts in the Dominican Republic to examine strategies used there to lower electricity costs and boost industrial competitiveness. He noted that while Jamaica Public Service Company is not objecting to power wheeling, producers would be required to pay a fee to transmit electricity from where it's generated to where it's needed. He added that these issues should form a part of ongoing discussions surrounding the JPS's new licensing regime. Motorists will see a slight relief at the pumps this week after several weeks of increases in fuel prices. The state-owned refinery PetroJam says effective Thursday, most fuel categories will decrease by 25 cents per litre. E10 87 will sell for $176.63 per litre, while E10 90 will move to 184.08 cents. Automotive diesel will be priced at $189, ultra-low sulfur diesel at $195.85, and kerosene at $178.39 per litre. However, propane cooking gas will increase by 38 cents, selling for $77.68 per litre, while butane will fall by 22 cents to $85.80. Retailers will add their markups to the announced prices. For the trading period of April 15, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Fosrich Company Limited with 14,077,155 units, or 40.22% of market sales activities. QWI Investments Limited with 5,551,017 units, representing 15.86% of market sales activities. Kentire Holdings Jamaica Limited with 2,365,121 units, representing 6.76% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in finance, conglomerates, and distribution plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica's data for April 15, 2026. Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $157.22 and buying at $159.27. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by 30 cents transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $115.37 and was bought for $115.07. For the British pound, continued volatility. It offered short-term trading opportunities of $8.59 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $217.24 and was bought for $208.65. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, most business owners wait until they need money before reaching out to their banker. and that's where things fall apart. Instead, set up a simple system so you're always ready. Start by creating one central file, whether it's Google Sheets or Excel. Call it a banker update tracker. This will be your control panel for everything your banker may need. Inside that tracker, list the key documents: income statement, balance sheet, cash flow, receivables, payables, and any loan schedules. And then add 3 columns next to each item. So you're going to look at the last updated date, the next update, and who is responsible for this information. Then set a routine update, which is your core financial monthly, and review everything at the start of the new month so nothing falls behind. The goal is simple: stay ready, not reactive. When your documents are updated, easy to access, and backed by clear explanations, your banker can move faster, give you better guidance, and take you more seriously when opportunities come up. And that's today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you clarity to capital, markets, and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, as hurricane season approaches, Belize is placing storm surge preparedness in the spotlight, hosting a high-level workshop to improve forecasting and speed up early warnings. The initiative is supported by the U.S. National Hurricane Center and the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, with experts working to strengthen science and communication before the next major storm. Here's News 5's Shane Williams with the story.
Many of us have heard stories that have morphed into epics about Hurricane Hattie's storm surge experiences along the coast of Belize City. The power of the sea can be devastating, and for low-lying countries like Belize, storm surge remains one of the greatest risks during hurricane season. This week, that threat is taking center stage as international experts gather in Belize for a storm surge workshop led by the US-based National Hurricane Center.
It started about over 10 years ago, and because of the fact that we are a country that is very vulnerable to storm surge, we were one of the first countries in the region to have been given the opportunity to get advanced storm surge modeling through this project. I will be very frank, the storm surge modeling is not looking at long-term projection. So what they basically entails is looking at several different hurricane forecasts. Some of them are actually generated forecasts that they do, and then they look at the model, the storm surge that would result from these hurricanes. So they create, some of them are synthetic hurricanes that they create, and they bring it into Belize coastline, taking into fact the different bathymetry, different topography along the coast, and then they sort of determine what type of surge, what intensity of storm surge you will get from different hurricanes coming at different speeds, different angle, and so forth.
Belize has been part of the initiative for over a decade, developing advanced model systems that simulate how hurricanes of varying strength, speed, and direction could impact the coastline. Those models are now faster, more detailed, and more accessible across the region, thanks to the United States government through the National Hurricane Center.
This week we're teaching about storm surge and the hazards of storm surge, how to prepare for it, how to know ahead of time where the most vulnerable communities are and prepare those communities in advance of a hurricane actually forming. And then when a hurricane does threaten, hopefully it doesn't, but if a hurricane does threaten any of the countries in the Caribbean, they now have the capabilities to warn on that upcoming threat. We've had a relatively strong push in technology that's enabled us to bring this capability, scale it up, you make it quicker, make it faster. So what used to take maybe 2 to 3 years to do one country, we're now able to do much, much faster. And so we're just scaling up the capability and spreading it throughout the Caribbean.
And with climate change intensifying storms, regional collaboration is more critical than ever. Minister of Disaster Risk Management Henry Charles Usher says the workshop provides Belize an opportunity to learn from the experiences of others in the region.
It's an opportunity to hear from our region, especially we have representation from Jamaica. We know that they just went through a Category 5 hurricane last year, Hurricane Melissa. And so it's an opportunity for us to learn, for us to be better prepared, and for us to utilize the technology, utilize this modeling technology to be able to advise our communities with advanced early warning systems, and certainly be better able to protect lives, protect property, and ultimately to be able to bounce back in the event that there is some kind of natural hazard event.
The hurricane season is quickly approaching, and experts at this workshop hopes that better science, better planning, and better communication will be the difference between life and death. Shane Williams reporting for News 5.
Guyana is calling on the United Nations to become more responsive and agile in protecting vulnerable people of African descent as a global crisis continues to deepen inequality, poverty, and discrimination. The call was made at the 5th session of the Permanent Forum on People of African Descent in Geneva by a minister within the Ministry of Housing, Vanessa Ben.
Guyana remains unequivocal in condemning human rights violations and appeals for the protection and respect for the rights of African descendants against racial discrimination, socioeconomic stagnation, and other injustices. Guyana is pleased that the United Nations, although long overdue, now acknowledges slavery as the gravest crime committed against humanity. We are gravely concerned about the global crisis being exacerbated by wars and internal conflict, supply chain disruptions, rising costs of fuel, food, and other essentials, and climate change, all contributors to increasing levels of hunger, poverty, socioeconomic insecurity, and adverse economic exposure. We condemn the racist and disproportionate treatment of people of African descent in migrant populations who are in desperate search of safety and secure livelihoods. Guyana calls for greater support to the Permanent Forum and for the wider United Nations umbrella to be more nimble in response and delivery, advocacy, and protection of vulnerable peoples.
In sports, we're out the blocks with athletics. Elaine Thompson-Herah has been named to the Jamaica national team for the first time in 4 years. The double Olympic sprint champion is among 32-member squad selected for the 8th World Relays in Botswana, set for May 2 to 3. Thompson-Herah last represented Jamaica at the 2022 Commonwealth Games in Birmingham and the World Championships in Eugene the same year. The women's 4x100 meters squad also includes Tia and Tina Clayton, Brianna Williams, Sharika Jackson, and Janelle Smith, while World Championship medalist Rochelle Clayton returns from injury for the 4x400 meters lineup. On the men's side, the 17-member squad is led by World and Olympic 100 meters silver medalist Kishane Thompson, alongside Oblique Seville, Akeem Blake, Kadrian Goldson, and Rashid Foster in the sprint relay pool. Former world champion Antonio Watson also features in the 4x400 meters group with Rashawn Clark, Javon Powell, and Taj Marks White. Jamaica will contest all relay events at the championships, with the team set to depart on April 27 and return on May 4. In other sporting news, cricket in the Americas could see a major boost as Cricket West Indies moves closer to a strategic partnership with NCL Canada Incorporated to expand the global T20 Canada tournament. Under the proposed deal, CWI would take an ownership stake in the league and acquire a franchise, strengthening the sport's reach across North America and the Caribbean. The partnership would also link Canadian players to CWI's high-performance pathway in Antigua, with talks ongoing on future participation in regional tournaments. CWI President Kishore Shallow says the move will help elevate and unify cricket across borders. Trinidad and Tobago's Caleb Wales is heading to the FIFA World Cup for the second time. The local match official has been selected among the world's elite referees for the 2026 tournament in the USA, Canada, and Mexico. Here's more from Nasira Mohammed.
It's the moment every referee works toward, and for Caleb Wales, it's a feeling he knows well. The Trinidad and Tobago official has been named to FIFA's Team 1 for the 2026 World Cup, the second time he's earned that distinction. He's joined by Jamaica's O'Shane Nation, making it a Caribbean double at the tournament. And when Wales heard the news, his first thoughts weren't just of himself.
I am very excited and elated to be part of this process for a second time. As such, I know it's a big deal, not just for myself, but for my family, my parents especially. My dad who always supported me, carry me to the airport for trips, take me back. My mom who's always checking in on me, lending that support.
That support system, Wales says, stretches well beyond his household.
As well as my extended family, my cousins, my aunties, my close friends, my colleagues, my refereeing colleagues, not just from Trinidad and Tobago, but the wider region, the Caribbean, and CONCACAF. So I know it's a big deal for not just for me, but for everyone who's involved. And it means a lot. It means a lot to me to experience this a second time.
This year's tournament is the biggest in World Cup history. 48 teams, 104 matches across the United States, Canada and Mexico. FIFA has assembled 170 match officials for the job, 41 more than Qatar 2022, selected through 3 years of performance monitoring across domestic and international competitions. Wales and Nation won't just be carrying whistles and flag this summer. They'll be carrying the hopes of the entire Caribbean footballing community.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks for watching.